And there it is. Awesome. OBS was giving me the runaround. I was getting the little spinny color wheel for like 2 minutes. So wasn't sure if that was going to go through. Let me adjust this just a little bit. Okay. And let me know in the chat room if you can hear the sound of my voice. Always got to test the audio first, because I'm very paranoid about that. And also we are waiting for a couple people to show up. All right, can you guys hear me? All right, I see you in the chat room. Thank you for showing up. It was kind of a last-minute thing. I only put the notice up in the community tab a few hours ago, or I think it was early this afternoon. And originally I was going to do this as a video, but I don't know, a lot of stuff has been piling up. You can hear me? Okay, thank you. All right, let's get this show on the road. Welcome back, you guys. It has been a minute since I did a live stream. I wish I could do more. I've been wanting to do more, but you know, sometimes stuff just gets in the way. I know I haven't been around as much as I'd like to the last couple of weeks. You know, there's always reasons. Stuff piles up. You gotta deal with stuff in the real world sometimes. I've had a few things I've been dealing with. Just to get this out of the way, first off, I had some orthodontic work done recently. I'm doing the Invisalign thing. They're not in right now, so I can take them out, so that's a plus. But I've had those in for a couple weeks, and the point of those is to kind of shift your teeth around. And when your teeth are moving around, it becomes harder to speak properly. So that's a thing. So shooting videos is a little bit more difficult. I'm dealing with it. Also, the doctor told me I have sleep apnea a few months ago. And it's a mild case, so I don't need a CPAP machine, but he said it would be beneficial if I lost a few pounds. Kind of weird, because I'm 6'1" and 190 pounds. Not exactly overweight. So losing weight when you're already at a healthy weight is kind of not the easiest thing in the world, but I've been, yay. But the reason we're all here tonight is, well, there's a few reasons. Excuse me. I was going to do a review of Five Nights at Freddy's 2, and I was working on the review, and I got it all written out. But then when I went to check social media, I checked the hashtag on Twitter, and every tweet talking about Five Nights at Freddy's 2 was from 2014, and they were talking about the game. Like, there was nothing about the movie. So I said to myself, like, is anybody even going to care about a video review? I mean, the movie was tweeting a little bit last night, but not anymore. It's been, like, silent. Which is weird, because apparently the movie is doing fairly well so far, right? Not as well as the first one did, but I mean, it looks like it's gonna make money. So, but yeah, no one's buzzing about it this time, which is very telling. Anyway, we'll talk about that. I've got the review all done, and but also, like, there's so much news coming out right now. Netflix is buying Warner Brothers, maybe. I don't think it's a done deal yet, but they're in negotiations to buy it. That's pretty huge. We'll talk about that. Also, like, there's so much stuff that's been happening, so much stuff that's been piling up that we haven't talked about. In addition to Netflix and the movie, we've also got a new Game of Thrones show on the way. Night of the Seven Kingdoms trailer, that came out. If you care about that at all, maybe you do, maybe you don't, I don't know. Stranger Things Season 5 Volume 1 is out. I was going to do a separate stream about that, but you can ask me about that if you want. I was going to, wait a little bit before I've organized all my thoughts. But you can ask about that. It's cool. We got a new show from Critical Role. The Mighty Nine is airing now. We got I think the first 4 episodes are out. that's been pretty cool so far. If you want to ask about that, go ahead. Also, we never talked about the X-Men 97 Season 2 trailer, because they got a trailer. It came out a couple weeks ago. It wasn't released officially, but it leaked online. That's why I didn't make a video about it, because I figured the leaks would be taken down pretty quickly, and then of course they weren't, and now it's too late. Whatever. But yeah, you want to ask about that, go ahead too. We got a lot of stuff to talk about, and we are still... don't have that many people in the chat room just yet. So you know what? Why don't we just begin with the Five Nights at Freddy's stuff? Just get that out of the way, because I don't think a whole lot of people are interested in that. So anyway, audio keeps cutting in and out. Of course. Let me just see this. I don't know. It says the connection is good. I don't know. Problem might be on your end, buddy. Just, I don't know. Refresh the page. See if that does anything. All right. I don't know. Stream health. Yeah, this says my stream health is excellent. So... problem might be on your end. Let me just refresh this. Yeah, okay. Try refreshing the page. See if that does anything. In the meantime, get your super chats in if you're so inclined. Anyone who does a super chat will have priority. I'll answer those as quickly as I can. And you know what? Let's talk about the movie first. And then we can get into the Netflix stuff and anything else you guys want to talk about, because there's a whole lot of stuff. For the record, this is like the full written review that I did. So I wrote the whole thing out. I just decided to do it in a live stream because I figured nobody would care about a review. For the record, as soon as this live stream is done, it'll be set to private, and then I will put it on, upload it to the live streaming channel, which is linked in the description box down there. If you want to see this live stream or any of my previous live streams, go subscribe to that channel. That's where they all go up. So as to not hurt me in the algorithm by putting them up on my primary channel. All right. This is the full review. Okay. So I'm gonna shift into review mode while I do this. 'Tis the season, everybody. That magical time of year when everybody is setting up their Christmas tree, hanging their Christmas stockings, singing Christmas carols, roasting chestnuts on an open fire. So what better way to get the movie-going public in the holiday spirit than a film about murderous animatronic robots that traumatize little kids for life? La 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 la. Five Nights at Freddy's 2. We really needed more than one of these things, huh? All right. I mean, they missed Halloween by a little bit, but that's still a pretty quick turnaround. It's only been 2 years since the last one. Magnus Lord, I see your super chat. I'll be with you in just 1 minute. Yeah, so 2 years since the last one, but that was still long enough for the movie to fade out of my mind. And I saw exactly zero marketing for this one, so when it popped up on the schedule, I was like, where the hell did that come from? Oh, Five Nights at Freddy's, that was a thing, wasn't it? Okay, whatever. Yeah, I never got on the hype train with this franchise. Never played the games, never cared about the games, but I thought the first movie was fine for what it was. Nothing remarkable about it, and there wasn't really much there for you if you were over the age of 12, but it wasn't bad. You know, it knew what its audience was, it did what it needed to do, and it was a relatively painless and inoffensive way to kill 2 hours if you had a free afternoon and some tweens who like scary movies. That said, considering you could sum up the entire plot as Chuck E. Cheese with evil robots, there wasn't a whole lot of meat on that bone. So my thinking was get in and get out before you wear out your welcome, but then the movie made damn near $300 million on a $20 million budget, so stand aside, Chucky, there's a new kid in town. I think the first movie exploding the box office the way it did caught everyone a little off guard, including the filmmakers. And you can tell from the way this movie plays out that they really didn't expect to be here. I mean, even though they did plant seeds for a sequel in the first one, it's pretty obvious that they didn't have much more story to tell. So there's a little bit of rejiggering going on here as they try to figure out what to do next. Yeah, when we left off, the Vanessa character was in a coma. That just gets glossed over. She wakes up very quickly. Very little is made of that. They introduce some new villain whose motivation is pretty much non-existent. And they retcon him into the backstory. Then they play his real identity like it's some big shocking swerve instead of them just grasping for straws with all this. Also, their efforts to make the story bigger are not great. I understand wanting to get the robots out of that restaurant so you can do new things with them. But there's a reason why they had to be confined to that setting in the first place. Because when you take them out of it, the spell gets broken really quickly. Because these robots are slow and loud. So when you play them like more typical slasher villains who move around silently and sneak up on people, that starts to feel like bullshit in a big hurry. The damn things are so heavy, their footsteps are like thunderclaps. You can hear them coming from a mile away, but they're also somehow as quiet as a mouse and can just appear like magic in places that they couldn't possibly be whenever the movie needs to set up a jump scare. Like, there's multiple scenes where robots appear somewhere, excuse me, where the robots appear somewhere, and instead of being creeped out, you're wondering, how the hell did they get there? Like, that doesn't make sense. Why didn't the characters hear them coming like they do in every other scene? How did the robots get onto the roof of a moving car when they weren't there a minute ago? It's so stupid. Seriously, unless those robots can teleport, most of the jump scares in this movie are not happening. The story is also really flimsy. It pretty much falls apart in the opening scene, which relies entirely on all the adults being so comically negligent to children being in mortal danger, you'd think it was an SNL skit. They also pull that with one of the teachers at the school. One of Abby's teachers is like the biggest asshole you could possibly imagine, so they're just setting him up to get killed. And all this kind of sucks because the first movie, it wasn't like a Christopher Nolan script or anything, but it had a little bit more going on than you might think. Like a little more to it than just being a disposable YA slasher flick. I mean, there was a story there. The characters had a little bit of thought put into them. Not much, but enough that you cared about what happened. And they still kind of do. A little bit. Josh Hutcherson is trying to move forward after the events of the first film, but his little sister hasn't been able to let it go. And I cared about them. That felt like the logical next chapter of this. But then all the stuff with Vanessa and the new villains they introduced just reeks of we didn't know what to do next, so let's just make some stuff up. And then the movie ends very abruptly on more sequel bait, and it's just ridiculous because it's the same villain. They just showed us how to easily defeat this villain, and there's no reason why they can't defeat it the exact same way in the next movie. They set it up that way. Guys, come on, I know this is just for kids, but you gotta try at least a little bit here. Look, I'm well aware that I'm not the target audience for this movie. That's fine, I don't have to be. I'm not expecting mind-blowing plot twists or Shakespearean dialogue with this. All I was hoping for was something that could hold my attention for 90 minutes. The bar was not set terribly high. It really wasn't. I mean, if it could have been at least as painless as the first movie was, so that parents could watch it with their kids without falling asleep, that would have been enough. I mean, fans of the games may like it, I don't know. but it's pretty bad. It's dumb, boring, lazy, predictable, makes no sense a lot of the time. Even for a kids' movie, this just feels phoned in. Most of the actual story they had to tell got used up in the first film, and most of what happens in this one just feels like them keeping things going for the sake of keeping things going because that first movie made a lot of money. And if this one makes even a third as much money, there's going to be more sequels. I mean, if you've got kids who like the first movie, they'll probably like this one too. Just expect it to be a lot more boring sitting through it with them this time. Or you could do yourself and the kids a favor, take them to see Zootopia 2 instead. And that movie will make you think about a few things. I mean, there isn't much thought going on here. Five Nights at Freddy's was always just a gimmick, and that gimmick had enough novelty to make the first movie work, but now that novelty's gone, and they didn't bring anything else to the table this time, so this sequel's getting a lump of coal in its Christmas stocking. Next time released during Halloween season, dudes. I doubt it would help the movie much, but at least it wouldn't feel like you were missing an evil robot Santa Claus. I mean, come on, how hard is this? And then there's my usual outro. Do all the YouTube things, because what really deserves to have its head crushed by a giant animatronic teddy bear is the YouTube algorithm. And just imagine there's the YouTube algorithm graphic creeping across the screen, and then it gets interrupted by a Santa Claus flipping it off. For the record, I actually have one of those. It was on Dynamite last Wednesday. So, I screen capped that, and that'll be in the next movie review I do. Oh, boy. Okay, Magnus Lord, thank you for the super chat. Appreciate your content. Stay intellectually honest. I do my best. Okay, thank you very much. And now, the big news. Netflix is buying HBO. Well, it is, kind of. Netflix is buying Warner Brothers. Maybe. At this time, I don't think it's a done deal yet. I guess they won the bidding war, and now they're in negotiations to buy Warner Brothers. So it's a good bet that it'll happen, but it's not a done deal. I guess stuff could still screw it up. But right now, it does appear as if Netflix is going to own Warner Brothers. And if this goes through, it means that Netflix would own, good God, so much stuff. They would own DC. They would own big franchises like Harry Potter. They would own HBO. What happens to HBO Max? Does it go away? Does it get absorbed into Netflix? Will we have to pay more? What does this mean for AEW's TV deal? Because, WWE is on Netflix now, or at least Monday Night Raw is. So there's a business arrangement there. If history is any indication, WWE isn't gonna like to share its home turf. Though they have been more open to collaborations in recent times. I don't think they'll want to collaborate with AEW though. There's some hard feelings there. So AEW could be up in the air right now. Speaking of pro wrestling, there's an analogy that's very apropos here. Years ago, during the Monday Night War era, back before WCW folded, you had your big number one pro wrestling company, WWE, WWF at the time, and then you had the number two, WCW, which actually was winning the ratings war for a short time. I think 86 straight weeks they beat Raw in the ratings. Then that stopped, and WWE eventually WCW got worse and worse, and the problems mounted up, and eventually they went out. well, they went out of business and or WWE bought the company. And then WCW was gone. But the thing was, WWE was better for having WCW around. Because WCW was the motivation for WWE to get their shit together. And once their competition was gone, WWE got really lazy for a long time because there was no solid number 2 company nipping at their heels anymore. There was TNA, sort of, but they were no threat. So the WWE product turned to shit for a long time. And that's what's... You see where I'm going with this? Because that's kind of what's starting to happen now if this Netflix Warner Brothers deal goes through. Maybe not to that extent, but it's kind of the same thing. I mean, one company starting to buy up their competition. One of the big dog studios. Direct competition in a lot of ways with Netflix. That's setting a dangerous precedent. Because, like, if the major studios, like, if this continues and the major studios end up getting absorbed into these streaming platforms, like Amazon Prime or Apple TV Plus or whatever, we could reach a point where nearly all of our entertainment is controlled by like two or three giant entities. That's not good. If you're looking for new ideas, new IPs, diversity of content, not to mention competition to push the studios and the creators to up their game and deliver better stuff, higher quality stuff, kiss all that goodbye. Make no mistake, this is going to be a terrible thing if it happens. I mean, I guess the best case scenario here would be for Netflix to continue to allow Warner Brothers to operate independently as they had been, just doing it under the Netflix umbrella with, you know, Netflix's money and resources. But does anybody really think Netflix is not going to start flipping over tables here? This is bad news. This is not good, and a lot of unanswered questions right now. We don't know what's going to happen. Like DCU, all that's up in the air. Like, I know a lot of people are, I wouldn't say they're ringing the alarm bells, more like well, some of the accounts I follow on Twitter are kind of like thrilled about this news, because these are these people who are still clinging to this ridiculous belief that they're somehow going to resurrect the Snyderverse if this happens, because surely Netflix will buy the studio and they'll kick out James Gunn and they'll restart the Snyderverse. And granted, I guess were this sale to happen, then I guess it would be within Netflix's power to do this, but should they? Should they? Now, I mean, yeah, I mean, we're only a couple projects into this new DCU, so I mean, if you wanted to just throw it out and start something new, something that would be that Netflix could call their own and wasn't started under somebody else's tenure, I mean, they can do that, and it would be annoying, but it wouldn't break my heart, because I mean, I wasn't in love with the Superman movie. It had good things about it, but you know, it could have been better. I thought it was a messy film, and none of these other projects they've done so far have really piqued my interest. So if they wanted to reboot it again and start something fresh and new again, I mean, they could do that. Then there's a Snyderverse. For the life of me, I do not know what these Snyder cultists have been smoking for the last few years that they think this is a viable option, that they think it's on the table. And it's so freaking crazy that it actually is, that it might technically be on the table now. But think about what's happened over the last couple of years. At first, there was all that release the Snyder Cut thing. I mean, they were beating that drum for God knows how long. They just would not let it go. Finally, the studio is like, all right, screw it, let's do this. So they allocated something like tens of millions of dollars. I think it was like $70 million or something for Snyder to go back and finish his cut of the Justice League film. And what happened? They released it. And it kind of went over with a, I don't know, kind of went out with a, I don't want to say it went out with a whimper, but it sure wasn't the life-changing cinematic event that a lot of these people had built it up as. Frankly, the movie was just as bad as the theatrical cut was, just in different ways. It looked pretty, but Snyder's stuff always looks pretty. Frankly, the movie is... Frankly, the movie was still pretty bad. Honestly. Just putting that out there. Which tends to be usually what happens when Zack Snyder has too much creative control. That's always what happens. But what happens? Warner Brothers lost money on that debacle. And they've been losing a hell of a lot of money with the DC EU, which was started by Snyder and was guided by him for a couple of years, and then was still continuing on in that vein. The whole thing had just become a giant mess. The movies were underperforming and underperforming and underperforming. They hadn't had a big hit, I think, probably since the first Aquaman movie. And these people want to bring that continuity back? Do you think that's even an option anymore? The actors have moved on. Snyder's moved on. Hypothetically, if this were to even happen, I don't think it will, but if it were to happen, do you really think they could get they could get that cast back? How many of those actors do you think would be up to returning? I figure one, maybe two. The only one I'm absolutely positive they'd get back would be Ray Fisher. Because the guy made himself so radioactive, Zack Snyder is like the only filmmaker who will work with him anymore. Like the only filmmaker who will hire him. I haven't seen that guy in anything since Justice League. The only thing I've seen him in was Rebel Moon Part 1, also written and directed by Zack Snyder. He's the only person who will hire this guy. And maybe they get Gal Gadot back. Maybe. But even that one's a toss-up. Oh, but also, you bringing back the Snyderverse, you know what that would mean? Bringing back Ezra Miller's Flash. Is anybody clamoring to see that again? I mean, that Flash movie was such a debacle. Good Lord. You really want to risk bringing Ezra Miller back after that absolute train wreck he made of his entire life for the last couple of years? You really want to risk that after they lost God knows how much money on that Flash movie? You really think you can get Ben Affleck back? I mean, Affleck's approaching top tier status as a director these days. I mean, he's got other stuff to do. You think he'd want to come back? Come back to this mess? Henry Cavill, who knows? I mean, Henry Cavill got jerked around so much. I mean, if I were him, I wouldn't come back. And what would make the studio think this would be a viable option? I mean, the Snyder cultists have been beating this drum for so fucking long, over and over. Like every other day you see Restore the Snyderverse trending on Twitter. But, I mean, if they think Zack Snyder is like cinematic Jesus, Why didn't they show up to support Rebel Moon? Because that shit ain't happening again. They're not making any more of those movies. As well, they shouldn't. They were fucking garbage. But, if Snyder has so many fans, why didn't they show up to support those movies? Just saying, making a trending topic or being popular with a certain group of people on Twitter doesn't necessarily translate to making money. Because the Snyder Cut didn't make money. Why would Netflix want to resurrect something that was a complete mess and was failing and wasn't working out the first time when they could start fresh and make something new with a clean slate? Something that is that they can control from the ground up, that they can create from the ground up with their own people. Not people who were hired during another era for a studio they just bought. That doesn't make any business sense. I mean, if I were Netflix, I'd want to start fresh. I don't know. That stuff doesn't make sense to me. Anywho, what do you guys think? What do you guys think about this? Is the new Game of Thrones show another prequel? Yeah, I think it's supposed to take place like 1,000 years before Game of Thrones. Whatever. I honestly, I don't care. I mean, here's the thing about these Game of Thrones shows. Like, I haven't even I'm so far behind on House of the Dragon. I don't think I even finished season 1. Not because it wasn't good. I just at a certain point I just kind of stopped caring. I'm like, you know what? He's never gonna finish the books. Why am I investing so much of my time and my attention and my fandom into something that probably will never have a conclusion? I mean, the main saga will not be finished. I mean, fingers crossed, maybe he finishes Winds of Winter. You really think a Dream of Spring is ever happening? Martin can't even focus on running the books. He's dividing all his attention between all these other projects. He's working on like 5 different TV shows and who knows what else. I mean, meanwhile, if he had written 1 page of these books a day, just 1 page a day, Winds of Winter would have been finished years ago. And he could be well into A Dream of Spring. Well into it. If he'd written 1 page a day, he can't even do that. He'd been writing Winds of Winter for how long now? Still hasn't finished it? It'll be a minor miracle if we even get that book, let alone the final one. So, if the source material will probably never even be finished, I really am struggling to care about the TV shows. When we got Game of Thrones, it had an ending. The ending had a lot of problems, but it had an ending. But then you ask me about all these prequel shows and prequel stories. I'm like, you know what? I don't care, man. We saw how this shit ended with the primary show. Now we're going backwards with the Targaryens, and even backwards even further with this Hedge Knight and in A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. Like, maybe it'll be good, maybe not. I might have to force myself to watch these things. I mean, I couldn't even finish season 1 of House of the Dragon. I heard season 2 kind of dropped the ball in some ways. I mean, I haven't watched that. I watched Friendly Space Ninja's review of it. Seemed like there was a lot of good and there was some good and a lot of bad. Some frustrating stuff going on. So we'll see. I'm even less interested in A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, and apparently it's going to be like a quasi comedy, which time will tell, I guess. But it seems really out of place. That humor does in a setting like this. I don't know if that works. We'll see, I guess. I mean, maybe I'll check it out. But I don't know. I felt really apathetic about that trailer. I was like, whatever. I just don't care right now. Let's see what else you guys are saying. Oh yeah, they don't. Netflix would own Scooby Doo. That's another one. What other franchises does Warner Brothers have? Don't know. Does Snyder even want to keep making DC movies? Beats me, man. Doesn't seem like it. I mean, he's been making other stuff. He seems happy making other stuff. And I know. I know the circumstances that he left, that caused him to leave DC in the first place. They were pretty. They had to have been really upsetting for him. I mean, if I were him, I doubt I'd want to go back. Just get away from all that stuff. Move on. Do something. Want to do something new. And we have another super chat. Hang on. Road Breach. Thank you for the $5. A Transformers cartoon is in the works by the Invincible team. It's based on the Skybound comics. Okay. By the Invincible team? That's cool. All right. I'm down for some no Transformers content if it's good. There's a lot of bad stuff out there. But I will happily talk all day about how awesome the Transformers Prime cartoon was. For my money, that's the best Transformers content there's ever been. Because I really love that show. Make it like that. Yeah, we'll see. Hey, made by the team that makes Invincible? Okay, cool. You got my attention with that. Invincible is pretty great. Let's see. What else have we got here? I don't know if they will reboot it again for a third time at that point. Just shut down the idea of doing the same universe story and do their own Elseworld stuff. Yeah, I mean, they could certainly explore that. Problem is, if you do it that way, then you can't do all the crossovers and the shared universe stuff. And I mean, everything's got to be a shared universe now. But doing Elseworld stories, hey, it worked for the Batman. So, yeah, I mean, as long as they're good, you could do it that way. Keep things nice and uncomplicated, nice and simple. Might be limiting in some ways, but you could do it. There's some mileage to be got from that. My problem with DC at this point is there have been so many reboots of so many characters that I'm completely checked out. I can't get invested because nothing is ever canon. Yeah, that's one of the main things. That's one of the main reasons why I could never really get into the DC comics. Because they reboot the whole universe every couple of years. I don't know what the hell is in continuity and what isn't anymore. It's all just so confusing. And sometimes certain things are still in continuity, but other things are changed. And it's like they don't know what the hell they don't know what the hell they're doing. I can't keep any of that shit straight anymore. Granted, I haven't really been trying. I've always been more into the Marvel characters. They just resonate with me more. But man, DC just It's just reboot after reboot. I don't know what the hell to do with that with all that. So confusing. Let's see. And Affleck would not want to come back. He struggled enough the first time. Yeah. And apparently the guy has got some like personal issues and stuff. And I mean, if if being in the this being the Snyderverse Batman was like a stressful thing for him, he didn't need that shit. Go off, make your own movies, direct more. You're great at that. Do something that you can feel positive about. Affleck doesn't need the Snyderverse. He's doing fine. Yeah, Snyder seems to be loved or hated. No gray area with him. Eh. He is a very polarizing filmmaker. I'll say that. I mean, he's certainly talented at some things. I always say this. He's a brilliant cinematographer. He's great with visuals. He can direct a great action sequence. Gets a little crazy with the slow mo a lot of the time, but he can direct dynamic action scenes. Problem is the guy needs to stop trying to be a screenwriter. A concept generator, yeah, he can come up with some interesting concepts, but he's not a writer. And when he tries to be, the results are not good. I think Zack Snyder is I think Zack Snyder is better off as a hired gun. If you got a project that has a solid script, solid source material to adapt, maybe, and it just needs somebody to like bring all the visuals to life. Bring in Snyder to direct the thing. That works. You probably get something that looks really cool, as long as you've got the story and the script and the characters and all the creative stuff squared away before he comes in. If you give him too much creative freedom, the results are not good. Let's see. What do you think this means for Mortal Kombat or Lord of the Rings? Netflix new series for them. Also, R.I.P. to Kerry Tagawa, aka Shang Tsung. Yeah, Shang Tsung from the Mortal Kombat movie died. The original Mortal Kombat movie from the 90s. I always liked him. That's too bad. That was too bad. Mortal Kombat, I assume you mean like the new movie series? So that'll be unaffected. Um, Honestly, I think it all depends on how the movie performs. If it does really well, I think we get more of them. Because, I mean, Netflix is a business. Businesses need to make money. So if you have a product here that is a proven success, you're going to keep doing it. I think if it fails, then they just cut it off and maybe try again with a rebooted version. LOTR. What was happening with LOTR? That's Amazon. I don't know what's going on there. Let's see. I've seen that Five Nights at Freddy's 1 movie and didn't like it. Let's see. I enjoyed it. The critics are saying the second one is bad, and at this point, it should have been rated R or make it longer, like 2 hours long. I think it's almost 2 hours long actually. Um, I was surprised to learn that the sequel was rated PG-13. I could have sworn that was a very soft PG rating because I mean there's no cussing. I don't think there's any. I don't. If there was any blood, it was like just was just like barely in there. Excuse me. I don't remember seeing any blood. Um, where did the PG-13 rating come from? That was one of the most. That was might have been the most sanitized horror movie I've ever seen. Yeah. So I mean, of course the audience is kids and people who were kids when the games came out, but yeah, the movie was completely toothless. They could have gone a little harder. Netflix getting ownership of HBO Max, that means they'll have the Penguin series. I did like that run. Yeah, yeah, they'll own all those properties. Uh, all those characters. I guess they'll own DC Comics too, wouldn't they? Wow. Netflix would own Ben 10. Yeah, that's another one. What are some other Warner Brothers properties or franchises that I'm not thinking of? Looney Tunes, yeah. I do wonder whether WB is in such bad financial shape, Netflix is in fantastic shape, or both. Might be both, I guess. Uh, which is weird. I mean, I haven't heard about Netflix's financials in a while, but last I heard, I mean, they were still in the red. Like they weren't gaining new subs fast enough to make a profit. I don't know where all this money's coming from. Some of their shows are crazy expensive. I don't know. They're making money somehow. I'd love to get a look at their business model. Excuse me. Okay. So many other things happened. We got Stranger Things. We got the Mighty Nine. Uh, X-Men '97 season 2 trailer. Anything else going on in pop culture you guys want to ask about? Go ahead. Long as I'm here. Is Beetlejuice WB? Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, that's another one. I figure the Beetlejuice plans don't change though, because I mean they've got a relationship with Tim Burton. He works on Wednesday. That's one of their big shows. So I wouldn't expect Beetlejuice to change. I know they're working on a third movie right now, so that probably goes ahead, um, unchanged. Also, Jenna Ortega, Winona Ryder, they're all Netflix talents. So if anything, I'd expect them to get more behind Beetlejuice. They would get Matrix and Dune. Oh boy, they'd get Dune. Oh wait, have they? No, I don't. Have they started shooting Dune 3 yet? I don't know. Anyway, I'm sure Dune Part 3 is all right. They're not going to change that. Dune Part 2 was a perfect movie. Got the most critically acclaimed movies in years. They're not going to screw with that. Wouldn't want to burn their bridge with Denis Villeneuve. Nah, that one's all right. Matrix, that's a weird one. I think there was some talk about like another Matrix movie, not with the Wachowskis, with somebody else. Forget who, but I think it would have focused on different characters or something. Not sure if that was ever actually greenlit, but yeah, the Matrix seems like one of those things that if they wanted to do something with it, they'd probably just reboot it, or just like do a new version with different characters or something. Already subscribed to your channel today. Thank you very much. July 10th, 2026, while it's closed for Disney's live-action remake of Moana. Yeah, smart man. You see the trailer for that remake? That thing looked more highly animated than the frickin' animated version was. Was there a single practical set used in the making of that film? It was bad CG all over the place. Lip syncing looked terrible. Still can't believe this live-action Moana thing is even happening. It hasn't even been that long since the animated movie. Good Lord. Thank you for subscribing, though. While all you guys are here, please do me a favor. Look down, click that subscribe button if you haven't subscribed already. Also, make sure you're still subscribed because a bunch more people were unsubscribed recently. That happens YouTube is doing that to me all the time. So frustrating. Yeah, so just go ahead, make sure you're still subscribed. They get Gremlins, yeah. Matrix prequel series, yeah, they could do that. That could be interesting, actually, because of what we learned about the backstory and how they've kind of run through this process like 6 or 7 times, I think it was. You could go back and tell the story of what happened during those first 6 times. Maybe it played out differently somehow. That could be interesting. How does that even happen, getting auto unsubbed? Man, I don't know, but it happens more often than you'd think. It's happened to me too, and people I follow. Beats me why that happens and why it's never been fixed. Man, you're asking the wrong guy. It's so frustrating. Oh, Netflix would own The Exorcist. Oy. Iron Giant, Wizard of Oz, a version of King Kong. Oh, man. Let's see. I am so worried. I've been wanting a Batman Beyond movie or something, and so far I am worried that with Netflix buying WB, they might not put any effort into it or anything with Nightwing. Yeah, how is it we've gotten all these DC movies over so many years, but we've never had a Nightwing project? Batman Beyond, that's another good property. I mean, that I would be down for a Batman Beyond movie. And they should do that. I mean, if they wanted to scrap the DCU and do something that could control themselves, that would be a project they could do. Honestly. Of course, we don't know how they're going to handle all these properties. Would they put effort into it? Would they not put effort into it? Would they half-ass everything? Would they want to do their own version of it? We just don't know yet. There's so many questions. Excuse me. Okay. Uh, let's see. What do you guys think of Stranger Things so far this season? Figured I was gonna I think I'll probably do like a separate live stream to give my thoughts on that one. Haven't really organized all my thoughts and opinions yet. Uh Something definitely feels off about this season though so far. Um it feels like there's not a lot of stuff actually happening. Like there's uh a lot more treading water than there used to be. Um it I don't know. It gives I get the impression that there wasn't a whole lot of story left, but the Duffer Brothers still had to fill an entire season and were dead set on making this like the biggest, most epic season they've ever done. But there just wasn't much of a narrative left to go. So the option they landed on was to just drag everything out and make it really long and like unnecessarily long and add even more characters to pad the runtime. And I don't know, so much of this stuff feels really unnecessary. Like I look at these first four episodes, of the volume one episodes. I'm like, you know what, they could have done this in two episodes, like easily. Think about the story of these four episodes. Has that much really happened? Have they really covered that much story? Not really. And I'm not going to get into it too much now, but it's like it's I can almost see the Duffers at their computer writing the script. It's like, well, we gotta do like 8 episodes here, and each one has to feel like a movie. But we've got so much story over here, and we gotta make it last for like 8. Make it last for like 8 or 9 hours. How do we do that? Let's add a bunch of new characters and give everybody down to the spots and that annoying, that obnoxious fat kid, that loudmouth fat kid with the glasses who's like nails on a chalkboard, annoying in every appearance he makes. Let's give him his own subplot. Let's make an episode that focuses on him. Won't that be cool? Haven't you always wanted Mike's little sister Holly to get her own subplot? Like, did we really need all this? I mean, I'm just waiting for Vecna to show up and start fucking shit up here. He doesn't show up until like the very end of episode 4. I was yes. I was trying to think of what this reminded me of. You know what it reminds me of? The Dragon Prince. Like the latter seasons of the Dragon Prince. I don't know if you guys watched that show. Netflix cartoon. It was pretty good for off a cliff towards the end. I think they had like 7, 8 seasons. I think, was it 7 or was it 8? I think it was 7, but now they're trying to get more. So after I think season 3, they had they were building up to the arrival of the ultimate big bad of the series, and he finally shows up. Or yeah, I mean, like the whole story is about him escaping this prison that he's been trapped in and getting back into the real world, and so he can like take it over or carry out this evil agenda, whatever the hell he's doing. They spent like 3 or 4 seasons getting him back out of his magical prison, and then they spend the next several seasons doing absolutely nothing with him. It's like for episode after episode after episode, like the main characters don't even know he's back for a long time. And they spend all this time on this side story with the sun elves, with all these annoying ass terrible characters that everybody hated. Everybody wanted that plot to just go away. They just would not let it go. Then you've got the big bad, Erebos. Finally, he's back. Finally, he's got like all his power restored. He can finally do whatever the hell he wants to do in the final season. And then they spend like almost every single episode except the last two just going around in circles where the main characters don't even know don't even realize he's back yet. And then finally, it's like, oh no, he's back. We got to deal with this now. And then there's this giant rush to get to the final battle where the whole thing is just slapped together at the last minute and nothing makes sense. And and he's defeated by this stupid Deus Ex Machina the writers just pulled out of their asses, and it's full of all these narrative MacGuffins that goes nowhere. Terrible, terrible fucking finale. It kind of felt like this. That's what this felt like. And it's not bad like that was, but I'm recognizing a lot of the same stalling tactics. Where it's clear that the writers don't really have a lot of story left, but they're dragging it out just for the sake of keeping the story going. Because if they end it, then they have to find new jobs, I guess. It's kind of the same thing with Volume 5 of Stranger Things. Like, you could easily tell this story in a shorter, more concise manner. And I don't know why you're not doing it that way. Because there's so many things in Volume 5 of Season 5, Volume 1 that they don't need. There's so much padding in these episodes. So much padding. All right, feels longer than it needs to be. Filler episodes in time. Yeah, definitely a lot of filler. I'll get into that in more detail. I'll do a live stream about Volume 1 in a couple days once I get all my thoughts together. Final season was pretty hit or miss for the Dragon Prince. No, it was just miss. God, they didn't resolve anything. I mean, they finally finished off that Sun Elf plot, for Christ's sake, only at the last minute, in the last episode. God, why did they drag that shit out so long? Then, like, almost every other plot ends on a freaking cliffhanger. For this potential sequel series they won't even greenlit for yet. Jesus Christ. Fuck that show. I watched Marvel Zombies from a couple months ago and it sucked. Complete letdown. Oh, bro, I did that review to warn you. Don't watch Marvel Zombies. That show was, one of the worst things I watched all year. If you have questions about stuff like that, wait for my review. I'll tell you if it's worth watching. Oy. And sequel bait that never gets resolved. Typical Netflix woes. Well, yeah, what Netflix likes to do is, I mean, a lot of their projects get canceled like that. See, they like to, they start a new project, and once they think they've brought in all the new subs that they can with this project, they end it. I mean, a lot of these Netflix shows, unless they're like really big, like game-changing shows and that people are buzzing about all the time, or that get a lot of awards or whatever, Those are the Netflix darlings, like a Stranger Things, like a Wednesday, like a Squid Game. They're big timers. Those shows are probably safe. And Squid Game's over too now. But Wednesday, Wednesday, I don't think they have to worry about getting canceled prematurely. But yeah, I mean, they make these shows to bring in new subs, and if they think they've gotten all the new subs they can bring in, those shows are ended. It's kind of a rare show that gets to go to its natural endpoint and end things on its own terms. A lot of Netflix shows don't get to do that. It's frustrating. And let's see, reminds me of Netflix Voltron. I hear it got pretty bad near the end. That depends who you talk to. The final season did have problems of Netflix Voltron. One of the problems was with the final season, they had way too many balls in the air, too many subplots. They just didn't have enough episodes to resolve everything. Also, the original head writer had left at that point, and so there was this weird tonal shift where the show got really dark towards the end, a little too dark for my taste. So yeah, final season did have some issues, and I will never be okay with the finale. I won't spoil it for you, but what they did, oh god, it broke my heart. The series as a whole is still pretty awesome though. The ending did have issues though. I won't deny that. What are the best and worst case scenarios for Netflix buying WB? Because how is this going to work? Is it the whole company or just certain parts? My guess is it's the whole company. I don't know why they'd only get parts of it. Like, would they get the film studio but not HBO Max? No, I think it's everything. Well, I already kind of talked about best case scenario. And best case is Netflix just leaves them alone and let them do what they do. Just lets the studio continue on functioning independently. And if they need Netflix resources, they have access to them. I think that would be best case scenario for me. Worst case is, they send in the hatchet men. They start chopping things up. They cancel all upcoming projects so they can rejigger everything and do them the Netflix way, or start making inferior Netflix versions of everything. And all the projects that we like or that we're excited for, those get canceled. Or rebooted and rejiggered, and because Netflix wants to make their versions of these things, not versions that were created by a studio by a different team before Netflix came in. A lot of uncertainty. So yeah, this is not a good thing. It's really not. Disney can't let go of remakes, I see, but Disney also can't make good movies right now. I'm still salty over the removal of Starboy from Wish to have a good story, and they destroyed it. Yeah. And to think that was an option, and to see the version they went with, you gotta wonder where their heads were at with that one. Because the one with the Starboy, that would have been a better movie. Would have been cool. And I think the people who made that call are gone now, though. So that's good. And did you see Ronin Warriors is getting a sequel remake? Yeah, I heard about that. They have a trailer or something yet? I don't know. I remember watching Ronin Warriors as a kid. I liked that show. I like that anime. I think it was on. I don't know. I remember watching when I'd get home from school. That was a fun anime. I liked that one a lot. That's one I'd be open to see getting rebooted. And not with new characters though. I'd like to see a new version of Ronin Warriors. How about Cobra Kai? Netflix did 5 of the 6 seasons well, and and Wednesday is good. If we get that kind of execution with WBIPs, it could be interesting. Yeah, yeah, but remember, Cobra Kai is not the norm because because that show was popular enough that they got to finish the show on their own terms. Um, then the Cobra Kai team made another show. I forget what it was called, but apparently it was reviewed well. People really liked it. They got 1 season and then canceled by Netflix. So it's a real crapshoot with that studio. Unless you make a project that really just catches fire, you're on borrowed time. Hey dude, just want to say your videos are funny as hell. Thank you. I feel bad for Warner Brothers. They built themselves up to tear themselves down. Ironic as Palpatine would say. Yeah. Yeah. It's it's strange that the studio would be sold off because Warner Brothers has been doing they've been doing good business recently. Zaslav came in and he made some decisions that some people weren't on board with, but he turned the studio around, and now it seems like he was just doing all that so they could sell the studio off at a higher price, I guess. It's a damn shame to see this happen. Of course, we don't know if it'll go through yet, so let's not count our chickens before they hatched, but right now it does seem as if it's going to. You never know though. Stranger Things is the same exception as well. Yeah, I mean that's Stranger Things. That was their flagship show for years. Guess it'll be Wednesday now. I used to think the prospect of Disney buying WB would be the worst thing ever, but now I'm not so sure. Honestly, that would have been worse. Because I would not hate the idea of DC and Marvel crossover content, TV, movies, and games. You really think you really think Disney would be able to do those well? I mean, they're struggling just to make good Marvel content right now. You really think they could make good Marvel versus DC crossover content? I don't. Look what they've done to Star Wars. Look what they've done to every property under the Lucasfilm had. They can't even manage their own properties right now. There were some rumors that Feige and James Gunn were having discussions. Well, I mean recently? Discussions about what? About James Gunn returning to Marvel? If he gets kicked out of a DC, I could see that happening. Before he left Marvel, or before they fired him because they saw some old tweets of his that they didn't like. The word is that James Gunn was supposed to be like the heir apparent if Feige ever left, and James Gunn would kind of take over. And that made sense. He was making those Guardians of the Galaxy movies, and everybody loved those. And now time has gone on, and he's made some other things, and him at DC has been a real mixed bag. And it does appear as if that's the only kind of superhero movie that Gunn knows how to make, or the only kind he wants to make. It's the same basic formula every time. The ragtag group of misfits kind of a goofy, the goofy tone. It's the same movie, and that worked for Guardians of the Galaxy. Of course, felt like those were just better movies in general. Maybe it's a case of like the Russo brothers. Russo brothers on left to their own devices, results aren't so great. You put the Russo brothers in the MCU, you let them work with Kevin Feige, and you get better results. You get the Winter Soldier, you get Civil War, you get Avengers, Infinity War, and Endgame. Maybe they need that collaboration to bring out the best in them. Maybe James Gunn is the same way. James Gunn left to his own devices, the results aren't so hot. You put him in there with Kevin Feige, where Feige can kind of manage him and curb some of his weirder impulses and say, okay, this is the movie I want you to make. This is the structure I need you to make it in. Can you work within this framework and deliver a cool movie? Can you do that? You think you can do that? You can? Great. Go do that. Just be sure to follow the rules that we've set out here. If you can do that, fantastic. And he does that. The results of the Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy. Still one of the best trilogies the MCU has done. It's one of their best. So if they could get that James Gunn back in the MCU, that'd be a good thing. Not the James Gunn that we have like right now, managing DC. Not that guy. Yeah. Hope the Russos don't break their good streak with Doomsday. Man, there's so many questions about that movie. See, the problem they have now is the build-up. Because when they did Infinity War and Endgame, that was when like the MCU was at the hottest it's ever been. I don't know if they were following a stream of movies that had mostly been very good. There's a few duds in there. Captain Marvel, obviously, but for the most part, people were still really high on the MCU, and the storytelling quality had been, for the most part, very strong up until that point. So they had a good foundation to build those movies on. Now, they're coming in where this whole multiverse saga has been, it's been a fucking mess. Let's not kid ourselves. It seems pretty obvious that they didn't really plan this whole thing out. And that was before all the stuff with Jonathan Majors happened. Then they introduce Kang. They do a little bit of stuff with him. Then, oh wait, he's not working. Also, Jonathan Majors got himself in trouble, so let's get rid of Kang. And they had to put the brakes on that. And there's, I guess, 86 any plans they had for that character. And then they have to, they pivot away to Doom, or a Doom variant. So they haven't built up to him at all. So basically, the entire multiverse saga coming up to this movie doesn't really mean much. Like, the Avengers Doomsday film itself is going to be like a quasi-reboot, or a soft reboot. This thing on. So all I say is, whoever, like the writer of that movie, they better hope that guy really nailed this thing, because they are going to need the best script in the entire world to salvage this thing. And I think it's one of the writers of Endgame, so that's promising. But man, everything I've heard about this movie makes it sound so effing complicated. They're going to have like 6 different teams. God knows how many characters. It might be one of the most expensive movies ever made, if not the most expensive. God help them try to make a profit on that one. Let's see. I don't know how to pronounce this. Mia. All right. Whoever you are, I'm about to butcher your name. I'm so sorry. Miotis Music 5019. I got that wrong. I'm so sorry. Did you ever get around to watching Peacemaker? Loved season one. I didn't love season two or The Umbrella Academy. Not no, I haven't. Um, People tell me Peacemaker was good. I think season two got weird. Apparently, I guess they did some multiverse stuff in season two. Um, I just never cared about it. Like, I mean, he was fine in the Suicide Squad movie. Um, I didn't like that he killed Rick Flag because I liked Rick Flag. And then, oh wait, we're bringing this guy back and giving him his own show. But he's a villain. I kind of want. I don't want him to get his own show. I want him to be punished for killing Rick Flag. You know. I guess he's been on this like the redemption arc thing. Yeah, whatever. If it's a good show, cool. I don't really care. It's not a character that interests me. Um, and if they're doing more multiverse stuff with it, that's another reason for me not to watch. I'm just really tired of this multiverse stuff. I want to be done with all this. It's just too damn much. It's a gimmick that wore out its welcome several years ago. There's a bug in here. Let's see. This is an off-topic question. What do you think of the creator of Who Framed Roger Rabbit wanting to do a live-action Jessica Rabbit movie? Doesn't make sense to me. Yeah, that would not make sense. And they couldn't make it properly. Live-action Jessica Rabbit? Does such a woman even exist in real life? And then they couldn't make her like the way she should be. You know, Jessica Rabbit is supposed to be like this walking sex bomb. Like they couldn't make that today. Like the PC police would be all over it. They'd have to have her completely covered up and not be sexy at all. They wouldn't be able to do it. They wouldn't be able to do it in a cartoon either, much less live action. Snyderverse would never come back. The later DCEU movies already ruined it by association, and the general public has already washed its hands of it. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the Snyder cultists, for whatever reason, have refused to let it go. Everyone else, I mean, they've moved on, dudes. I mean, they're on to the next thing. I'm sure he's posting stuff about it all the time because I think he likes the attention, and he likes just kind of trolling people and getting and riling up his base with stuff like this. But I mean, everything that I've heard suggests that he's moved on. He wants to do new things. Of course, he's got a really terrible association with that franchise from when he left. Like I said, if I were him, I'd want to be done with it too. Yeah, there's been build-up, just not clean build-up like with the Infinity Saga. This is true. I mean, it's true in the sense that they've mentioned the multiverse a lot, and they've done like movies with like a multiverse component. But you didn't have like the building blocks. You didn't see them building upon what they'd done with each new movie. Like, okay, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, that had a multiverse story, but did it set anything like something to build upon in the future? Not really. It told a multiversal story, But did it like set up something that would lead into whatever? Like Fantastic Four? Not no. Spider-Man No Way Home told a multiversal story. Did it build? Not really. I mean, it would set stuff up for future Spider-Man stories, but not a multiversal one. Unless they plan on bringing back the other two Spider-Men, which I'd be down for in Doomsday. You know, if Toby or Andrew showed up there, that's cool. That's fine. But are there story threads that set up? Not really. No, not really. I mean, anything involving Kang had to be thrown out pretty much. I mean, they really didn't start building up Doomsday until Thunderbolts. The stinger at the end when the Fantastic Four rocket shows up. That's when they finally, figured out where they were going. Then we got Fantastic Four. We get Doom showing up at the very end and the stinger there. And is there anything else with a multiversal component before Doomsday happens? I can't think of one off the top of my head. Unless we start seeing like multiversal incursions in like Vision Quest or whatever. I mean, they've had projects that were about the multiverse, but they weren't telling a story really. They were just making use of the gimmick. And I think that's been one of the big problems with this multiversal saga, because the Infinity Stones were a narrative. The multiverse is a gimmick. With the multiverse, they had a plan. They had a story. Then, they were telling it chapter by chapter. Okay, here's where one of the Infinity Stones is. Here's okay, there's another one. Okay, it's over here. It's on this planet in this timeline. Make a note of that. Okay, and here. Here, the Eye of Agamotto. That's an Infinity Stone. Okay, that one's over here. And then when Endgame came around, I mean, you see all the characters kind of sussing this out. Okay, it's like, guys, if you pick the right year, there are 3 Infinity Stones in New York. Because they had to plan all that stuff out. Because they had a roadmap. And when they had to get to the destination, they knew where everything was. It was all teed up for them. Here, with the multiverse saga, they don't have a roadmap like that. Because they've just been all over the place. And they either didn't have a plan, or they had a plan and they couldn't stick to it for whatever reason. So they're going into this Doomsday movie with the whole thing being kind of a mess. And instead of a solid foundation, they're kind of sinking into the muck. And the job of this movie is just to pull them out of the muck. They've got a really tall order to make this movie work. I don't know. I don't know how the hell they can do it. I don't know. Maybe it's possible. Who knows? Doomsday apparently doesn't even have a finished script, which has me so confused as to why they're even shooting anything. All right, I think that's been taken a little bit out of context. Because they wouldn't be able to start shooting without a finished script, because they'd have to make sure everything is insured, and they'd have to know how much money they need to spend on certain things. So they need to have some version of a finished script before they start production. I think the issue is Feige likes these things to be very fluid, and he likes to not necessarily have like a locked version of a script, because he likes to shoot different versions of it and then kind of piece the final version of the movie together from these different versions. I think they call it scrapbooking, to the point where they have scheduled reshoots for all their movies just so they can shoot like different versions of scenes. And so they have like multiple versions of takes. And they can appease, okay, I like this take with this emotional tone, and like this comedic beat with this punchline, and this dramatic beat with this kind of intensity, not ratcheted up that much, but maybe just dialed it back, and we shot all these different versions. Now we can piece them all together, and they have like multiple versions of like every scene, and like they're probably shooting like multiple versions of every movie, and that's how you wind up with stories like Captain America, Brave New World, where they basically reshot the same movie like 2 or 3 times, and I guess sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Uh, that seems like a very risky way to make a movie, and I guess it was working for him for a while, but not so much anymore. Yeah, but yeah, they wouldn't be able to start production without some version of a script, just for like financial reasons. But maybe it wouldn't be like a completely locked version because they'd want to be. Feige likes these things to be fluid and likes to shoot different versions of things. Um, but apparently these things are constantly shifting around and getting rewritten and rejiggered during production. I think that's where those comments came from. Since Doom is going to be the main villain going forward, I wonder how they're going to resolve the Kang storyline. Is he just going to get off-screened or something? No, I think they already did it. I didn't finish Loki season 2, but as I understand it, it was dealt with in that show. I guess the TVA has been rounding up all the Kang variants off screen, and I guess he's just been dealt with that way. They're rebooting the entire MCU anyway after Secret Wars, and they should. I feel like the current MCU has run its course. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know if they necessarily have to reboot everything, but soft reboot absolutely. You got to get the mutants in there, and basically they need to kind of retcon away all the mistakes they made, especially during the multiverse saga. So soft reboot absolutely, or a total reboot. I'd be all right with that too at this point. I mean, they kind of squeezed all the juice out of this orange anyway. They could do with a clean slate. Grace Randolph is already complaining about too many men in Doomsday. Is she now? Too many men. So you want more female characters, huh? So she thinks we should bring in Captain Marvel? Or Photon? Or Ms. Marvel? Because the Marvels, they got the spotlight in the Marvels, and that didn't work out so well. I guess they might need to use Photon because they kind of did a cliffhanger with her. But Captain Marvel, what do you think she could possibly contribute to this? Oh, the heroes have an omnipotent, invincible god on their side. Watch out, Doctor Doom. Hope you don't run afoul of who's so indestructible and so powerful she can fly into the heart of a dead star and reignite it. You got anything that can counter that? No? Oh, I guess Doom is fucked then. I mean, that's what Captain Marvel contributes. You really think the movie needs that? You really think we need She-Hulk in this movie? After her show crashed and burned? And everybody hated it? Grace, you really want She-Hulk back for this movie? Oh wait, Tatiana Maslany kind of threw Disney under the bus and doesn't want to come back. Doesn't want to be working for Disney now. Oops. Well, I guess we don't have to worry about She-Hulk. What female characters does Grace think should be included in this? Which ones? Some of the female X-Men characters? Your Famke Janssen's Jean? Jean Grey, that'd be good. Halle Berry Storm, she could come back. That'd be cool. That'd be fine. If they wanted to bring like the female X-Men back in, like from the original cast, cool. I'd be all for that. And then they got Rebecca Romijn's Mystique in there. I think she's the only one of the original female cast. That's a shame. I would have liked to see Anna Paquin's Rogue again. Give her one last chance to play the character as she should be played. Because I think Anna Paquin could have been a good Rogue. She just didn't have the right material to play like the sassy southern flying brick. She couldn't play like the real Rogue. They gave her this, this version they gave her just wasn't like the version a lot of us wanted. She's a great actress though. She could have played it the right way if she'd had the chance. I know Anna Paquin has had some health issues in recent years though. It's kind of difficult for her to move around now apparently. So guess that wasn't on the table. That kind of sucks. But yeah, they could have added like the females X-Men characters. Aside from that, like who from the which female characters from the MCU does she think are not being included but should be because they would make this movie better? Like who does she think they should bring in? Who does Grace Randolph think are being cheated for not being a part of this movie? Ironheart? Does she think they should use Ironheart? Because, wow, that, yeah, no. Kate Bishop, that's a good one. They could use if they use Kate Bishop in Doomsday, I'd be fine with that. I like Kate Bishop. It's, a lot of that is just because of, God, her name just fell out of my head. Hold on. Haley Steinfeld. Don't know why I couldn't think of the name. It's part of that is because I really like Haley Steinfeld. I think she's like really charming and funny and entertaining. I don't really care for Kate Bishop's character in the comics. Really don't care about her at all, actually. But I like the way Haley Steinfeld plays her. And I did like the Hawkeye show. So if they wanted to use Kate Bishop, that's cool. Bring in Kate Bishop and use her. Otherwise, I don't know. What other female characters do they have right now that are actually good? I liked I liked all the female characters in Guardians of the Galaxy, but they're done now. They could come back in cameos. I don't think that's going to happen though. Hell, Nebula was probably one of the best female characters in the whole MCU. She was one of my favorites. They brought her back. That'd be cool. But that's not going to happen. They got the Avengers and the Thunderbolts and the X-Men and the Fantastic Four and the Wakandans and I think a couple other ones too. How many of those female characters are actually good? Honest question. Like how many of those female characters are worth putting in Doomsday? Honest question. I have given Disney and Marvel one more chance from me. If Avengers, Doomsday, and Secret Wars flops, then I'm done. No more time wasted. Yeah. They've definitely earned our skepticism at this point. I can't blame you. I really can't. All of them? Grace's List makes no sense? Alright, I haven't seen that video. Maybe I'll have to check that out. Captain Marvel is going to have to get involved. She has personal stakes in saving Monica. Maybe she has personal stakes, but does she have to get involved for Monica to be saved? Do they need her in the story in order to get Monica Rambeau back? Does she need to be a part of that in order for that story to work? I mean, you got to figure that Monica Rambeau is in the same alternate universe as where the X-Men are going to come from. So there's going to be some kind of multiversal incursion or some kind of portal opening where the X-Men are going to come out, and you figure Monica Rambeau is going to be there. Does Captain Marvel need to be a part of that in order for that story to work? I don't. Doesn't seem to me like she's absolutely necessary for this. Oh, and if Captain Marvel is there, well, then you got to answer the question: why doesn't Captain Marvel just, light up like the fucking sun, and take out Doom that way? Does Doctor Doom have anything powerful enough to stop somebody who can reignite freaking stars? Maybe. I don't know, maybe Doctor Doom opens up a portal to some kind of alternate universe and throws Captain Marvel into there and just closes it and she's trapped there now. Maybe. I don't know. They've really written themselves into a corner with that Captain Marvel character. I don't know what the hell they did with her. If they can even convince Brie Larson to come back, and it doesn't seem like she wants to come back at this point. Yeah, I'm tired of Hollywood's take on the comic book movie world. Seriously, I mean, that Thunderbolts movie was a monstrosity. Wow, not a fan of the Thunderbolts movie, huh? I liked I liked Thunderbolts more than I disliked it. Could have been more comics accurate, because I collected that original run of the Thunderbolts comics. I think that was from Kurt Busiek, and Mark Bagley was a penciler, I think. I have that original run. It's in one of my long boxes here somewhere. That was a good run of comics. I like that. I would have been down for a story like that, where it's a group of villains. I mean, I know the original run was the Masters of Evil pretending to be heroes as part of some kind of scheme that Baron Zemo had cooked up. There's been like so many different iterations of the Thunderbolts now. They kind of settled into them being like Marvel's answer to the Suicide Squad now, where it's a bunch of villains and anti-heroes working for, I don't know, the government or something, sometimes against their will. Yeah, but I mean, seems a lot more generic these days. I really did like that original run, though. I would have been down for something like that. But yeah, it did seem like they were just trying to turn the Thunderbolts into their new Guardians of the Galaxy type franchise. Again, the ragtag group of misfits. The underdogs, the B-listers who have to save the day when the go-to heroes are out to lunch or are unavailable or whatever. Like, they're not here, so it's time for the team of underdogs to come in and save the day when no one else can. It's kind of the same thing. I would have liked something a little more comics accurate. I did end up enjoying the movie. It wasn't perfect, though. I was taking the comic book. Taking comics. Tired of Hollywood's take on comic books. Yeah. It does seem like the typical formula has gotten very samey. Specifically the Marvel formula. Like, I mean, we hear all this talk about superhero fatigue, movie fatigue necessarily. I mean, we always say it's bad movie fatigue. I think maybe we should revise that. Maybe it's just formula fatigue. Like, maybe what people are really tired of is the Marvel formula. Because all their movies are kind of made the same way. I mean, you got outliers here and there. Like Daredevil Born Again was uncharacteristically serious, like a lot more serious than Marvel's other stuff. A little bit more horror-esque. Not all the way horror, but more horror-esque than a lot of their other stuff. There's outliers once in a while, but for the most part, all their movies are kind of this, all their projects are kind of the same, kind of made the same way with a similar tone and all that stuff. It's a formula, and it's worked for them. It worked for them for a long time. Hasn't been working lately. So the question is, do they know any other? Because it does seem like the audience is really eager to change things up and get their superhero content in a different way. Exhibit A, Dispatch. I haven't played Dispatch, but I got so hooked on those cutscenes. And I was watching the hell out of those for a couple of weeks. Again, haven't even played the game, but those cutscenes, they told a great story. You know, they had fun characters and, you know, some great dialogue and, you know, some pretty great action scenes towards the end, and, you know, some plot twists I didn't see coming, and a love story that even had like a quasi love triangle that I didn't hate, and I can't fucking stand love triangles, but this one was cool. They didn't like play up that aspect of it once you know, chose which girl you wanted to Robert and Invisigal and stuff. Great payoff at the end too. I wanted more Dispatch content. I wanted them to make that into like an animated series or a movie. That would have been cool. Again, not made by the typical, you know, formula that we're used to seeing, and that's what made it so refreshing. There are benefits to deviating from formula once in a while. That's one of the reasons I like Daredevil Born Again. And I know, you know, some people didn't like Born Again. I thought it was really good. Did have a couple issues because of, you know, the production rejiggering and stuff, but they played it serious, a hell of a lot more serious than most other Marvel stuff, and that was fucking refreshing. I liked that. I'm looking forward to season 3. Or season 2. Whatever. Season 5, we're counting the Netflix stuff. Born Again Season 2. I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to more Daredevil Born Again content, if they make it like that, just without the production hiccups. Just keep that tone. Keep that serious tone. That was good. Because that deviated from the Marvel formula. I liked that. The formula, they've gotten all the mileage they can out of it. It's time to do something different. Question is, does Feige know how to make these movies and these shows and these projects any other way? X-Men 97, there's another one that deviated from formula. And you guys know I was very hot and cold on X-Men 97, had a lot of problems with it, but it was definitely not formulaic. Definitely did not adhere to the Marvel formula. That was one positive it had. So like the last couple of years, the trend seems to be that when they deviate from formula, they get positive results. In my opinion. You may think differently, that's okay. So, might be time to experiment. We know there's a quasi-reboot coming after Secret Wars. So, now is the time to start figuring out how they're going to make these movies in the future, because they got to figure out a new way of doing this, a different way, because they've gotten all the mileage they can out of the way they've done it so far. Right now they're limping into Secret Wars, so something's got to change. I can imagine a version of Riri Williams that could work, but the version we have is the furthest thing from it that there is. A version of Riri Williams that could work? What version is that? Wouldn't be any version I recognize. Honestly, that character's always been pretty terrible. In the comics, forget about it. Is she even still a thing in the comics? And last I heard, I think she was like a supporting character in the Iron Man book. Seems like they've pretty much given up on her, though. She hasn't had her own solo title in years. I think they were trying to cram her into some team books for a while. Those didn't work out. I suspect the only reason they released her Disney Plus show at all was because they didn't want to burn the bridge with Ryan Coogler, who's like one of the few A-list talents they've got left. And I know he had a hand in like producing that show, I think. So they wanted to keep him in their good books. Otherwise, I don't think we're going to see Riri Williams again. Unless she shows up in that Young Avengers thing. Which, frankly, they'd be stupid to do that. And the girl who plays 11 is being looked at to be in the new X-Men movie. Yeah, Millie Bobby Brown. I know she's been a popular fan cast to play Shadowcat for a long time. Like, for years. I talked about this. I was talking with someone on Twitter about this. Depending on the age range, she could work for Kitty Pryde, but she might be like right on the cusp of being too old to play the character now. Because when Kitty debuted in the comics, she was, I think, like 13 and change. Millie Bobby Brown can't play 13 anymore. And I think she's like early 20s at this point. I mean, so if they aged up Kitty Pryde to where she's like 17, 18, something like around that area, she could play that age. I think she'd be a great Kitty Pryde. But I mean, they would have to like age up the character a little bit. Yeah, if this is like a slightly older or more experienced Kitty Pryde who's already been with the X-Men for a few years when we meet her in the game, then Millie Bobby Brown's a good choice. Yeah, Yelena, Yelena's already in there. We know she's in Doomsday because like the Thunderbolts are crossing over in that. Sue Storm, yeah, she's already in there. Kamala Khan, no, just no. You see, the thing about Kamala Khan is that the actress is really good, but the character is terrible. The character is just insufferable. I mean, if she works in any way, it's really just because the actress is really charming. Because that's one of the first things anybody says. Like I think on the red carpet for the Marvels, Feige was like, "Oh, Iman Vellani is really great in the movie, you guys. She's great. She steals the whole thing." And yeah, she was certainly the best thing in that movie, but the movie sucked. And she was only good despite the movie's efforts to shoot her in the foot. Character still sucked. Character was still annoying. But it's like, oh, you kind of feel bad for Iman Vellani because she's definitely talented, but she's saddled with like a character who's been a complete failure since day one. So, what can you do? Assuming the Gunverse is safe, what is your opinion on the popular opinion that two theatrical Batmans won't work? I think it could. The alternative of using Pattinson just isn't an option. I think having two Batmans running concurrently is definitely a weird idea. I mean, you've got other options on the table. One would be to just use Pattinson as the DCU Batman. I mean, you haven't done anything that prohibits this. You could say that David Cornsweet's Superman is doing his thing in Metropolis, you've got Robert Pattinson's Batman across the bay over in Gotham, and that they're just running concurrently. There's nothing there that says you can't do that. But yeah, they want to introduce like some new Batman, have the two and just have Robert Pattinson's be like the Elseworlds Batman. That's weird. It seems counterproductive. Um, I would say just since you've chosen to do it this way, just hold off on introducing your DCU Batman for a while, until you were done, until like the Batman narrative has been finished. Unfortunately, Matt Reeves works so slowly; it could be years before that happens. But assuming he speeds up, I mean, and then and then introduce your DCU Batman. I mean, no one's saying you have to do them both at the same time. I think that would be a stupid idea. Because I don't know. We don't know like what tone James Gunn is going for, but I'm assuming he wouldn't be writing and directing. No, I think he's got like Andy Muschietti or something for the Batman movie Brave and the Bold. I think you're doing they're doing Brave and the Bold. Skipping right ahead to Batman and Damian. I don't know what kind of tone they're going for here. If they're going to want to do like a kind of uniform tone for the whole universe, like the MCU likes to do. So yeah, if they're doing that, then Pattinson wouldn't work in that universe. I don't know why you'd want to do that tone for Batman. That does not work at all. The whole thing's kind of a mess. I mean, honestly, a DCU Batman is still years away anyway, so it'll be a long time before we have to think about this. It's just a really awkward situation. I mean, I'm sure James Gunn would just like to get the reboot on the way and just introduce his own version of Batman, but he can't because Matt Reeves' The Batman is pretty awesome and pretty universally beloved and acclaimed. And goddamn, and that is a pretty awesome movie. It holds up to rewatch so well. That movie gets better every time I see it. So yeah, I think just choosing to not continue that version when it's so popular, that'd just be a bad look. So I think James Gunn would probably like to do it and just introduce his own version of Batman, but he's kind of stuck right now. So I'm not sure what they do about this. Because you can't really hold off on introducing a DCU Batman forever, but at the same time, you having two different Batmen concurrently, it's just weird. I'm not sure what they do about this, to be honest. Unless like introducing Pattinson into the DCU is some kind of radical tonal shift. If you think you could make it work, just make him the DCU Batman and be done with it. If you can't, then they got a problem. Brie Larson is probably more happy with being on the Mario team than going back to Disney. Yeah, probably. Honestly, Brie Larson has kind of kept her head down since the Marvels debacle. I mean, it does seem as if she's not sure how to say it, but I think she's realized that going all in on the strong female character, like the intersectional feminism stuff, I think she's realized that it didn't really work out so well for her. And you'd have to be blind, deaf, and dumb to not see how the Marvels was kind of a disaster for everybody involved. So it does seem like she's trying to just distance herself from that whole thing and just put it behind her and try to rehabilitate her image. Because, I mean, she hasn't made any stupid comments or obnoxious comments like recently. Does kind of seem like she's just kind of just wants to focus on doing like fun acting. I think the last thing I seen her in, what was it? I think she did like a car commercial or something. I think she was she was fine in that. I haven't seen her in any big roles recently. Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe just kind of fade out of the conversation for a little bit. Let people kind of forget about all those stupid comments and obnoxious interviews that she did. Then come back with something simple, something popular. Voice a Marvel character. Rehabilitate your image. Come back. Do something likable. Play a character people enjoy. I'm actually kind of rooting for Brie Larson to change people's minds and do something that people like in this movie. Yeah, voice Princess what's her name? I forget the name of it, but that's fine. Yeah, voice a Marvel character. Not a Marvel character, a Mario character. Do that. Just have some lighthearted fun. Leave all the feminism and political nonsense in the past. Come on here, remake yourself. I think people might give Brie Larson another shot. I'm actually kind of rooting for her to do a good job in that movie. They should take the Young Avengers thing behind the barn and shoot it already because there's no way it's ever going to work. Honestly, they should. There's plenty of reasons. For starters, by the time they get around to making this thing, those characters and those actors won't be so young anymore. I mean, some of them are in their late 20s as it is. I mean, I think some of them are still playing teenagers. They aren't going to look that way for long. Plus, a bunch of those characters are kind of terrible. Ms. Marvel, forget it. Ironheart, everybody hates her. Coming off the terrible Disney Plus show. Wiccan, who I didn't hate in Agatha all along, at least towards the end. But that's part of that was because they were playing him against Agatha, who is absolutely loathsome and was saved only because of the actress. Also, there's another problem. Wiccan is way too OP. It's the same problem with Captain Marvel. So if you're going to put him in a Young Avengers show or a movie or whatever, then you've got to answer the question of, okay, there's some supervillain who shows up, the Masters of Evil, or frickin' Kang, or Ultron, or whoever. Some supervillain shows up. Okay, well, you got Wiccan on this team, so now you got to answer the question: why can't Wiccan just open up a pocket universe and stuff the bad guy in there, and then close the door and trap him in there? All right. If one of his teammates dies, then you've got to answer the question, why can't Wiccan just transplant this dead person's soul into a new body like he just did with his brother Speed? Okay? They made the same damn mistake that they made with Captain Marvel. They made him way too OP, and they forgot to establish any rules for his powers. So if you watch Agatha all along, basically, Wiccan can do anything the plot needs him to do. Okay, there are no rules. You don't know. You have no idea what his magic can or can't do. It seems to be able to do anything. And if a character can do anything, well, then he's got nothing to really struggle against. If he's got no struggles, then everything is too easy for him. That makes him that's a recipe for a boring character. I mean, I talked about this when I reviewed Agatha. That's another character they've shot in the foot because they're making all the same mistakes, and they've created a character that it's going to be really difficult to write good stories about. They let us watch Dispatch for free. That could have been a TV show. That should be a TV show, damn it. I would watch that so much. Dispatch was fucking great. You know, if I'm making like a top 10 or even a top 5 list of like the best pieces of media or entertainment that I've seen this year. Dispatch is on that list. How about they move on from the Avengers and start telling stories about the X-Men, X Factor, Alpha Flight? How about just start telling origin stories about other characters? Um, I mean, honestly, I mean they've got so many X-Men stories and so many characters. I mean, they could do. I mean, they could do like 10 years worth of movies of just the X-Men characters. I'm not even. I don't even think that's a bad idea. I mean, there we know there's a soft reboot coming. Maybe shift all the focus to the X-Men. Really expand that roster. Tell do a blue team, do a blue team movie, gold team movie. Do X Factor, X Force, Excalibur. You got there's so many different teams and so many great stories they could adapt. Give the Avengers a break for a little while. Kind of feels like they need a break, honestly. I mean, it's been a minute since we had an X-Men movie. I mean, the Fox movies have been done for a while, not counting Deadpool. The X-Men could come in and feel fresh again if they've got a good take. I have concerns about the director and the writer, quite frankly, but we'll see. If they manage to do a good job and really nail this one, that could be the new focal point. I don't see why it shouldn't be, at least for a while. The problem with this chat room is it's not like a concurrent thing. They wait a few minutes and then they post a whole bunch of comments all at once, so I'm constantly losing my place here. Rogue is one of my favorites. Rogue would have to be so powerful if they do a good Rogue. Yeah, see, the problem with Rogue is the Captain Marvel component. Because Captain Marvel is so massively OP, she really doesn't work with a character. So if you use Rogue and you want to give her, do the flying brick version of Rogue, well, then she takes Captain Marvel's powers and then Rogue has the same problem. Then you've got a Rogue who's massively OP. I guess the best fix for that is you have Rogue siphon off just a tiny fraction of Captain Marvel's powers, but again, you're losing a lot of that story. Also, you'd have to get Captain Marvel back, and I'm not sure you could even do that at this point. Yeah, we've seen a Rogue in the movies who doesn't have her flying brick powers, and she just has their absorption power, and she's not as fun. I want a comics accurate Rogue. I want flying brick Rogue in the MCU. I'm not sure how you get there though. Maybe she takes the strength and the flight from somebody else who's not Captain Marvel. I feel like the biggest problem with X-Men 97 is that they took storylines that should have took seasons worth of storytelling and cram it into one episode. One of the big problems. The pacing was just abysmal. A lot of those, I mean, they took stories that were like entire sagas that were like years and years worth of comics, condensed them into one episode. I mean, with some it kind of worked, I guess. With some it really didn't. They absolutely butchered Life Death. Inferno kind of sort of worked, but I mean, imagine how much better it could have been if they'd extended that to a two-parter. Wow, the pacing was oh boy. I don't know what the hell made them think they could cram that much into 10 episodes. And believe it or not, Grace wants Agatha because there's nobody for the LGBT crowd. Really? She wants the ghost of Agatha Harkness to be in Doomsday? How's she gonna fight Doctor Doom? She's a freaking ghost. Ay, ay, ay. Grace has some weird ass takes. I don't know where her head is at. I mean, I like her box office breakdown videos. Those tend to be pretty informative, but man, she reviews something. I don't know what she's thinking most of the time. Santy, you know this. The animated movies have a way better story than their live action counterparts. Seriously, check out the Watchmen animated movies, part 1 and part 2. This is how you make a comic book movie. I have seen the animated Watchmen movies. I watched those a couple months ago. I was on a real Watchmen kick at the time. Uh, yeah, I was perusing HBO Max and I found they kind of did took the Watchmen graphic novel and did it like an audio kind of like an audio book format. Not really, because I mean you still had all the comic panels on there, but they were like animated and they had like a narrator and stuff. I watched those, and then I watched the animated movies, part 1 and part 2, written by J. Michael Straczynski. That's why it was so good. Both of them are excellent. Better than the live action movie. I thought the animated one was so fucking good. So fucking good. Yeah, Rosalina, that's the character's name. Princess Rosalina. Would Netflix bring back Batwoman? Ha ha. Don't even joke about that. Come on, if they wanted you to do the Rogue with OP powers, is just use Wonder Man instead. Well, that is an option. I think Rogue in the comics has Wonder Man's powers now. Problem is, I mean, they're just about to introduce Wonder Man for the first time. What if they want to do stuff with him? I mean, if Rogue takes his powers, then you kind of just thrown that character out. And I don't know that there's anybody really excited about a Wonder Man show in the first place. And we'll see how that goes. Maybe it'll be good. Maybe it'll suck. Who knows? But yeah, I don't know what they do with Rogue here. They've got a. I hope they've got a plan for her. Better be a good one too, because I'm not sure how you get to the Rogue that we want to see. Because Captain Marvel thing doesn't really work. You got Wonder Man, maybe, but he's a brand new character, and you're just going to sideline him right off the bat? Who knows? Let's see, were any of the X-Men 97 episodes well paced? Yeah, a few of them. I'm just trying to think. I would say that episode 5 was well paced. Remember it, the one in Genosha, because they weren't trying to cram in like 50 different plots at the time. They just focused in on the Rogue and Gambit and Magneto stuff and the Genosha attack, and it was more focused, and that one worked. I think episode 7 was well paced, again, because they weren't trying to do too much. You know, they just focused on Rogue going nuts, and then going back to fight Trask and introducing the Prime Sentinels, and again, not trying to do too much. That's the pattern. When they don't try to cram in 50 different plots, then the odds of getting something better increase. Of course, those episodes were not the norm. I mean, I could go on about that in great detail, and I did when I reviewed that season. There's a whole playlist. I reviewed the entire X-Men 97 season. If you want to go that, there's a playlist on the channel. Go watch that. So I talked about the pacing a lot. Yeah, I mean, don't get me started. Unless you want to talk about the season 2 trailer, then I can do that. Because I expected Marvel to get the leaks taken down, but they never did. They just left them up. I actually have the leak trailer on my desktop right here. Had a lot of fun going over that. Seemed promising to me, you know. It's a perfectly fine trailer. Didn't reveal a whole lot. It's more like, here's the time displacement storyline. Here's Apocalypse. Here's some of the characters that are going to appear, and that's about it. Didn't get too far into it. I doubt there was much in there from the back half of the season. It seemed most of it was just about the first 3 episodes that we know are going to be past, present, future, covering the time travel stuff. Maybe a little bit of other stuff in the present, but they're definitely still playing their cards very close to the vest, not spoiling anything. But yeah, aside from that, it was a good trailer. Nothing in there that made me nervous or anxious or anything. So, yeah. Who do you think could play Rogue in the MCU? My number one choice right now is Margaret Qualley. I'm not sure. I don't know if that's how you pronounce her last name. Yeah, Margaret Qualley. She's my number one pick right now. Also, forget the actress's name. I saw her in a movie a couple months ago. Hold on. Forget her name. Jack Quaid was in it. What was that movie? I'm hitting up IMDb because this is bothering me. Companion, that was the movie. The actress in Companion, Sophie Thatcher. Sophie Thatcher, I thought she would be a good Rogue, also. But Margaret Qualley is my number one choice. I mean, she's got the look. She's got like the attitude. She's got the chops. I think she's as perfect a Rogue as we're likely to get. Don't know if she's being considered for Rogue. I hope she is. Because I think she'd be pretty much perfect. How do you feel about Rogue killing Bolivar Trask? Well, put an asterisk next to that. Back to X-Men 97 here. She dropped him off a building. He didn't die because he turned into a Prime Sentinel. So they gave themselves a take back with that one. I was okay with it. And if Trask had died there, I I don't think that would have been out of character for Rogue. Because she was just really messed up about Gambit and just full of just rage at that point. And that did make sense. I mean, I talked at length about how X-Men 97 Season 1 character assassinated Rogue. That was an episode where she felt in character to me, because that was, I think, one of 2 episodes that weren't written by Beau DeMayo, who did not get her character at all. For many reasons. I won't go into that now. But that was, I think that episode was episode 7, where Rogue dropped Trask off the building. I think that episode was written by Charlie Feldman, who was like the Rogue advocate in the writer's room. That felt right to me. Because, I mean, if you go back, rewatch X-Men the Animated Series, Rogue would always get really panicky and nervous whenever Gambit was in danger. I mean, she kind of just, she was always kind of trying to deny her feelings, like act like she didn't care about him and all that stuff. But when he was in danger, you saw the real feelings come out, and she got really scared. And at this point, I mean, he's just been killed. And so, I mean, if anything is going to push Rogue over the edge, that would have been it. I think they absolutely went way too fucking far with it. But when she dropped Trask off the building, yeah, that made sense to me. Because obviously she was going to have a very visceral reaction to Gambit dying. And of course they wrote their way out of it. Oh, never mind, he's okay. He's just a Prime Sentinel now. All right, so they gave themselves a take back. That felt like an in-character moment. They made that one work. Say they wrapped that Madeline Pryor storyline way too damn fast, and that Wolverine and Jean kiss was just as pointless as it was in the comics. It went nowhere, and killing Madeline was a bad move. Yeah. The thing is, I mean, Inferno was a long story. I mean, Claremont built up that story in the comics for a long time, I think. That was one of those slow burn stories, and then when Inferno happened, it felt like they'd really like set the stage properly. Here, it was just wham, 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 bam, bam, bam. They're trying to get through plot, adapt this story, that story, this story, that story, just blasting through stories. I don't know what the hell made them think they could do it all so fast. I mean, what I wanted them to do was just not try to do so damn much and just let these stories breathe a little bit. I mean, I thought they kind of sort of made it work with the Madeline Pryor story in episode 3, but just imagine if they'd had they stretched that out to a 2 or 3 parter. It could have been so much better. So much better. And as it is, they had to condense the hell out of it and just get these basic plot elements, and a lot of it didn't make sense as a result. Like, I am the Goblin Queen. Okay, where did that Goblin Queen? Where did that name come from? You just pulled that name out of your ass. I mean, you haven't been to Limbo, or like that Inferno stuff hasn't happened yet. Where did the Goblin Queen name come from? Also, Madeline Pryor, where'd that name come? That's another one. You just pulled it out of your ass. It's just they tried to condense so much stuff, but the result was they had to skip over a lot of the good stuff in that story that made it work. So we're getting like these incredibly streamlined versions of long-form stories in the comics, and it's just the whole thing was just very messy. Very messy. The Wolverine Jean kiss, yeah, and it didn't. It felt kind of pointless, didn't it? Didn't really go anywhere. I mean, with how hung up on Jean Wolverine always was in the 90s show, then she kisses him, and then the moment passes, and then they just move on like it never happened. Because that kiss did happen in the comics, not during Inferno or anything, but during the Grant Morrison run, I think. I think Jester Bell just did a video about this. I mean, you could go watch that. She explained it, really well. Was she talking about the pacing of 97? They were just doing like, specific moments and fitting them in there because they were in the comics, but a lot of it didn't gel properly because the pacing of the show was so messed up, and they were trying to cram in too many things that didn't need to be there. And wow. Killing Madeline felt like a waste too. I mean, I'm not ruling out her coming back because we know Gambit's coming back. I'm crossing my fingers that Apocalypse will resurrect Madeline too, because I think Madeline being a horseman could be cool. Having her and Deathbit being like buddies as horsemen together, that could be kind of fun. I think it would increase like the personal stakes for like Cyclops and Cable if they see Madeline as one of the horsemen. Don't know what they're gonna do about the horsemen. And Deathbit might not even be a horseman himself. I know, Bo DeMeo, has been, Bo DeMeo, he's never shut up about this. He'd never stopped patting himself on the back for this show, and he's revealing stuff because he loves the attention. He's indicated that Deathbit may be something worse than a horseman. So he may be the Horseman of Death, or he may be like something above a horseman. You may have your 4 horsemen, and then Deathbit is up here as like something else entirely, maybe doing something from the New Sun arc in his solo series. That was something we theorized about. I think they'll just stick with the 4 horsemen though. Don't know who the other 3 could be. If they're adapting this Blood of Apocalypse arc, which is the one in the comics where Gambit became Death in the first place, I think Polaris was a horseman. Doesn't sound like that's going to happen based on what I've heard about what the original plan for Polaris was. So I don't know who else it would be. Maybe resurrected victims from Genosha, because they had plenty of options there. A lot of people died in that episode. I mean, you could bring back, Apocalypse could resurrect Banshee or Dazzler or Marrow or Sebastian Shaw. I mean, any one of them would make sense for Horsemen. We could get some of those characters back, because killing them off like en masse like that just felt so wasteful. I mean, you're making an X-Men show and you're killing off like a lot of these major characters. Okay, the Morlocks, fine. Yeah, they can stay dead. I mean, you already kind of did them in the 90s show anyway, but Dazzler? You kill off Dazzler? Really? And there was still felt like there was a lot they could have done with Madeline too. But I'd want those 2 characters back, definitely. I think Moira McTaggart died in the attack as well. Yeah, Moira died. Banshee. Oh, god damn it. I mean, once you get past the shock value of the event itself, it's like you realize a lot of these characters I wanted to see in the show are dead now. It just seemed like kind of a waste, because if you want to use them later, what do you do? That's what I'd do if I'm writing season 2. I'd have like all the Apocalypse's horsemen be like resurrected Genosian victims. Let's get Gambit, Dazzler, please tell me you didn't like Agatha. No, I did not. No, I did not. What about the alternate universe where Magneto is the leader of the X-Men, Age of Apocalypse? I mean, some of the best stories I've ever read. What about it? I mean, yeah, it was a good comics crossover. That was one of those crossovers where you could tell editorial was really on the ball. They had a good story. They stuck to it. They told it very well. definitely one of the best, probably one of the best X they've ever done. Um, were a few things I think about it that don't need to be revisited. Because I mean, if you look back, especially the Rogue Magneto thing, where in that universe they're married, that relationship literally started with her being his groomed student. Like Mystique brings Rogue to Magneto when Rogue is just a kid, and I guess leaves her with him. And then like Magneto is like her guardian and her teacher. Oh, and later on, he starts grooming her, and I guess she like her and Gambit ask for his help to help figure out her powers, and he does by like inserting himself into the mix, and he say, "Hey, Rogue, I can touch you," and then they just get together. This child Rogue and her basically her teacher / guardian. That's how that relationship happened. That does not need to be revisited. And that's kind of the version that Beau DeMayo was writing in X-Men 97 Season 1, so fuck that guy. On top of all the things he was doing in real life behind the scenes at that show. So yeah, he can go away. Thank God that guy got fired. Yeah, so there were things about Age of Apocalypse in the comics that can stay in the past, do not need to be revisited. Overall, really good crossover, though. I don't know if you knew about this. Apparently, that was going to be the original plan in X-Men 97. I guess Season 2 was going to be... It was going to have two villains again. It was going to be the big bad, the ultimate big bad was going to be Onslaught. And I guess with Apocalypse kind of chess pieces. And then Season 3 would have been entirely Age of Apocalypse, which to me sounds like an absolutely terrible idea. Because one, they already did that with One Man's Worth in the original series. It's the same idea. The same fucking idea. That episode is what inspired the Age of Apocalypse crossover in the comics. It's the same fucking thing, and they'd just be doing it again, spending the entire season on a 4-issue, on like a 4-month, 4-issue like crossover event in the comics. Why? So you can reset the timeline and make the whole thing an alternate universe, like an alternate timeline thing that just gets erased at the end with everybody forgetting it? That sounded like a fucking terrible idea. And also, he was doing it to just keep on milking the Rogue Magneto thing, which Beau DeMayo was just creepily obsessed with. So, yeah, that won't be happening anymore, thankfully. That idea got 86'd. I sleep better knowing we won't be getting that now. Again, good story in the comics, not something I needed in the show. You guys thinking Amelia Clark will be coming back, or are we forgetting that female every power Super Skrull exists? Oh, I highly doubt we will see Amelia Clark again. Because one, the Secret Invasion show was very badly received, and again, the character is so massively OP, like, what can you do with her? I think she has the powers of Captain Marvel and like a dozen other people. I didn't actually watch Secret Invasion because I was sick when that show was coming out, so I couldn't review it. And I figured, okay, well, if I don't have to review it, I ain't watching that thing. And I regret nothing. But I saw what everybody else was saying about her. Like, yeah, she's so massively OP, you really can't use her because she becomes a walking plot device at that point. Yeah, Jester Bell is an online friend. She's great. I respect her brutal honesty. She kind of reminds me of you. You know what? Jester Bell and I became aware of each other because we had similar takes on X-Men 97. Yeah, I think somebody who watched both of us kind of turned us onto each other, and now we follow each other on Twitter. Yeah, I like her videos a lot. She's really good. Makes great videos. Great X-Men videos too. Yeah. Like we have like the same the same takes on X-Men 97. It's pretty funny. Whoever plays her has to be gorgeous. I assume you're talking about Rogue. Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I say Margaret Qualley. Google her. Giggity. That's all I'll say. That is one attractive woman right there. Yeah. I predict that when the mutants finally debut in the next saga, there will be so many mutants in the MCU, TV shows, and movies that fans will be complaining about them being shoved down their throats. Not if they're smart about it. Go back to the formula that worked in Phase 1. Introduce these characters slowly. Don't do too much. Don't do too much too fast. You got plenty of source material to draw from. Just be smart about it. Start with one team. In fact, I'd go even slower than that. I would maybe do like a one shot on Disney Plus, like just to introduce the concept of mutation into this world. Like I don't know, that would be a good thing to use Kitty Pryde for, actually. Like, I don't know where I'm just spitballing here, but like do like a 1 hour special, kind of like the Werewolf by Night thing they did. I think it was a little longer than an hour, but whatever. You know what I mean? Just showing us like how the MCU has changed now that mutants are a part of it. Introduce the concept of mutation, like showing us that mutants are a thing that's out there. Also, mutants are hated and feared. Explain why they're hated and feared. Because you still gotta, because we're in like stan culture and a cosplay culture now in the MCU. We see that a lot. You know, we saw it in Ms. Marvel when she went to the Comic-Con. People are dressed up like superheroes. Okay, so why is it that somebody like Captain Marvel, or not Captain Marvel, not Captain America, why is it that Captain America is beloved as a superhero, but Cyclops is hated and feared? They're both superheroes. This one, everybody loves. This one has to be a hero in a world that hates him. So, what's the difference? Both got superpowers. One of them was just born different. But what's the distinction? Why is one a hero and one is like sort of like a pariah to society or whatever? You're gonna have to explain that. Like, why are people, like, in order for the X-Men to work, you've got to get that dynamic right. They got to explain, why are the X-Men, why do they not have people dressing up as them at Comic-Cons? Why do they not have fans standing them like the Avengers do? What's the difference? So I would have like do a one-shot special where they explain all that stuff. It could be Kitty Pryde, it could be some other character, it could be some new character. But maybe like tell a story about this kid who their mutant powers are manifesting for the first time, and tell a story about what happens when a mutant's power manifests. Maybe it's really dangerous. Maybe people get hurt. Maybe shit gets fucked up. Maybe you see this character running down the street and the whole place is getting destroyed. Like buildings are getting torn apart, or cars are getting flipped over because this mutant's power is going out of control. They don't know how to, they don't know what's happening. They can't figure out like what to do or how to control it, and their powers are just going haywire, and everything is getting fucked up, and they're just labeled as a public menace for no other reason than because they're a mutant and there's a power manifesting that they don't understand. They're not. This isn't a superhero. Maybe they look different. Maybe the mutation causes them to, I don't know, look all fucked up. I mean, there's any number of mutations and characters that can do that. So they don't look like a superhero. They don't have the costume, but they've got a power that's really frightening to everybody who sees it. And then you do that, and then you expand on that. Okay, this is a mutant. The public is aware of mutants now. Oh no, they're not like the Avengers. Mutants are actually kind of scary. We need like some kind of, maybe we need some kind of way to police mutants whose powers are out of control. Oh no, okay, hey, there's a mutant with a costume, might be a superhero. Oh no, he's attacking a military base when he's hijacking a bunch of missile silos. That's not good. Just get the ball rolling. Kind of like lay the groundwork for what the MCU is going to mean for the mutant population. I think that would, because then when you do an X-Men movie, you could just hit the ground running. Because they're going to have to explain why mutants are not perceived as like superheroes like the Avengers are. Because if they are, then it doesn't work. I don't understand the difference between being a mutant and a mutate. I know mutants are born, but wouldn't that make the child of a mutate a mutant by definition? It's kind of weird. As I understand it, how do I explain this? Mutants are born with powers because they have the X factor gene. The X gene, whatever you want to call it. Mutates are people who acquired powers through via other means, I guess. Like Spider-Man would qualify as a mutate, I think. I think that's the difference. I guess you've got other classifications of people who are technically born with powers, but there are other things. Like Inhumans are like a separate thing, technically born with powers, I guess, but they're a separate thing. So I don't know. There's a lot of different classifications of this, and I've never seen it explained particularly well. But I guess a mutant. I think for a while Daisy Johnson would have qualified as a mutate, because born with powers, but not a mutant. She didn't have the X gene. She just had fucked up genetics because of her father being Mr. Hyde. And he ran all those experiments on himself, and that did a lot of weird stuff to his body. He passed that on to his daughter. So not a mutant, was a mutate. Then the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. show happened, turned her into an Inhuman, so the comics retconned her into an Inhuman. So that's what she is now. Yeah, I think a mutate is just a character who gets powers via... not with the X gene, but with other stuff. Huge fan of your channel and film reviews. Thank you. The hatred of mutants never made sense. I can understand if everyone hated superheroes and supervillains across the board because of the property damage, but just mutants doesn't make sense. If you got characters like Magneto hijacking missile silos and, setting off EMPs over the East Coast and killing people by the millions, and have people like him branded as the face of mutant terrorism. I mean, mutants have always been kind of like a metaphor for oppressed minorities, which was a lot more apropos, I guess, in the 60s. Now, like when where superhero culture has kind of like overtaken everything, it's a little it makes a little less sense, I suppose. So they got to get more they got to get more sophisticated with it. Um, yeah, I guess the villains are going to be important. Get somebody doing a lot of fucked up evil shit and say that character's a mutant. I'm scared of mutants now. Everybody should be scared of mutants now. It's not really about superheroes. It's about them just being different from normal people in ways that can be frightening or confusing, I think. Mayday Parker in a naturally born is a naturally born metahuman AE mutate. Yeah, yeah. Mayday Parker would be a mutate. Exactly. Isn't Kamala Khan a mutant in the MCU if I'm remembering right? Ugh, Jesus Christ. Oh, don't get me started. No, you got me started. Okay. The whole Kamala Khan being a mutant thing in the MCU was so freaking confusing. You can tell they didn't plan for it. It was something that Kevin Feige wanted them to do, and they just tacked it on at the last minute. And it made no sense. It didn't make much sense in the comics either, but I guess what they did with Kamala Khan in the MCU is they made her some kind of like interdimensional hybrid being whose powers come from, I guess, being descended from these people, these beings from an alternate universe. And that's where the powers come from. And her powers were so weird. I guess like that's where her abilities came from being descended from these other dimensional people, but the abilities were able to be unlocked because she's a mutant or has a mutation or something like or some nonsense like that. You could tell the writers had no idea what they were fucking talking about. But yeah, they made Kamala Khan a mutant, basically. And then they retconned her into being a mutant in the comics too. So now in the comics, Kamala is both an Inhuman and a mutant, which is really fucked up if you think about it. Because previously there had been this story where the Terrigen Mist was spreading across the planet and was killing any mutant who breathed it. So like the Terrigen Mist was poisonous to mutants and was killing off the whole mutant population. So if the same thing that empowers an Inhuman kills a mutant, you gotta figure like the biology of these two species is just not naturally compatible. And yet somehow you have a character who is both an Inhuman and a mutant. Explain that one to me. Yeah, I know, previously Quicksilver and Crystal had a child together. Mutant and an Inhuman had a baby together. But then Quicksilver was retconned into not being a mutant anymore. So yeah, it really doesn't make sense. So I guess Kamala is supposed to be like the bridge between Inhuman and mutants. Like how the fuck does she even exist in the first place? Did they ever explain that? I don't know. I didn't read those issues. But they just wanted to retcon Kamala into being an X-Men character, so they can just shove her down our throats in the X-Men books, just like they did over in the Avengers books for a while. Because she can't. I guess she hasn't had her own solo series in a while. I guess she was a supporting character in Spider-Man for a little bit. She was on teams. She was on an Avengers team for a little while. You can guess how that went. Yeah, so they had her in an X book, NYX, for the relaunch, one of the first of the new books to get canceled because no one was reading it. Because surprise, surprise, when you put Kamala in a book, it tends to hasten a book's cancellation. I wonder why. Nobody likes her. They're not buying this nonsense about her being an X-Men character. And then they're doing this other special event where they tried to retcon her into all these. They have her like traveling back in time so they can retcon her into all these previous stories, these famous stories. Like they added her into the Dark Phoenix saga, and a bunch of other ones. I don't know. Maybe they can play the multiverse card with that one. God, so fucking stupid. Who would be the main villain in the next saga? You mean post Doctor Doom? I can't speak to anybody else. I heard Feige, supposedly Feige wants Mr. Sinister to be the big bad for the X-Men. Which, I don't know about that. I mean, I would do someone other than Magneto. Like, enough already with Magneto. Give him a rest for a while. Honestly, the big two options would be either Apocalypse or Dark Phoenix. I think if you're going to do Dark Phoenix at all, or Apocalypse like Thanos, like have him be for the X-Men what Thanos was for the Avengers, that looming threat off in the distance that they build up to over multiple movies. And Dark Phoenix would be the same way. Like treat Dark Phoenix like the Avengers Endgame of the X-Men movies. Because, I mean, the Foxmen tried to do Dark Phoenix twice. And they kept trying to do it in one movie. That's why it never worked. You can't do the Phoenix saga in one movie. It's too big. So that's what I would do. If you're going to do Dark Phoenix at all, that's got to be like something way off in the distance. Build up to it over a long time, or just don't do it at all. Okay, is there anything else we gotta cover? We've been talking for a while here, and I got some stuff to do. Not gonna lie, I'm tired of Dark Phoenix. Me too, honestly. I mean, I mentioned doing her in the movies as like a hypothetical. Personally, I wouldn't even do her at all. I wouldn't. I'd do Apocalypse, if you could do it right. I wouldn't do it in the movies. Like, the Fox movies tried twice. It didn't work. Just leave it. Phoenix Saga, I'm not sure what else you can do with Jean. That the Fox movies didn't finish off already. In the triangle with Cyclops and Wolverine, Fox movies kind of did that. Not particularly well, but they did it. You could introduce Emma Frost and do kind of like the rivalry there. See, the problem with Jean is she doesn't really have many stories that don't somehow tie back to the Phoenix. That's why she is not really one of my favorite characters. Honestly, the character has become kind of annoying because of the writer's refusal to move on from the Phoenix. Think about it, in the comics, I mean, those are Jean's 3 biggest stories ever. I'm not sure she has another one that really measures up. She has the Phoenix, the stuff with Emma Frost, and the love triangle. I mean, the Fox movies already kind of finished off most of that. Unless you want to bring in Emma Frost, then I'm not sure what you do with Jean Grey in the MCU. I really don't. Unless they want to go down a wildly different path with her. Okay, I think that's about it, guys. Is there anything else you guys want to talk about? Stranger Things, I'm saving that for another stream. No comments about the Mighty Nine? No, that's too bad. We're only 4 episodes in, but that's been a fun show so far. I actually went and subscribed to Critical Role's channel. I'm starting campaign 2 so I can find out what happens with the Mighty Nine. It's been pretty fun. Yeah. Had some X-Men 97 questions. Yeah. All right. I think we can call it there. I got to do some stuff before I get to bed. And yeah, hopefully we can do another one of these things and talk about Stranger Things in a couple days. Okay, so thank you everybody for tuning in. Sorry for the late notice. Hopefully we can do more of these things. You know, I got stuff in the real world that I'm dealing with, but you know, I can try to make time for it. We'll try to do a Stranger Things ones in a few days. Once again, if you were here for this and you wanted to rewatch the stream, it'll be set to private once I'm done with this, and then I'll upload it to the live streaming channel in the next day or two. You can link and subscribe to the live streaming channel down there in the description box. There's the link there. Go hit subscribe to that. That's where all my live streams go up, because, you know, I get asked from time to time, hey, why didn't you review Daredevil Born Again? No, I did. In live streams, go click the link. Yeah, so thing is, live streams don't get a ton of viewership, so you gotta set them to private so the algorithm doesn't kill your channel. That's why I set up a separate channel. Link is down there in the description for the live streaming channel. Thank you everybody for tuning in. Let's do this again real soon. Okay, and I will talk to you guys later. Thanks. Oh well, hold up. Wait. Where is it? Do I still have the? No, I do not. Okay. Well, where are the? Okay, Miotis Music 515. Oh God, I'm so dyslexic. Miotis Music 5019. Thank you for the super chat. And I know there was one other super chat, but it's off. It's off the chat room right now. Whoever you are, I forgot your name, but you know who you are. Thank you very much. And thank you to everybody for tuning in. Let's do this again pretty soon. And good night.